Free.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome aboard. Welcome to another edition of the Pan Campaign Show here at Fairway Hotel. We sit here every Friday from 5 to 9 p.m. My name is Andrew Igumba Baksabi, your speaker, and this evening I am privileged that now we've been joined by a whole commissioner from Ministry of Ethics and Integrity, Office of the President, Assistant Commissioner Justice Rubarema, in charge of religious affairs, Office of the President. We are here to discuss Africa and Uganda in particular. Even before all these laws came out, our traditional chiefs, our own, homes, had their own ways of living. When there was an issue, there was a mechanism on how they used to handle that matter. Even before your your modern courts came here, there were problems, of course, it's fair. But our traditional leaders, African leaders, actually had the mechanisms of ironing out those problems. Today, when they have a problem in the village, 100 kilometers away from Kampala, with my neighbor on land, they wanted to bring that matter to Kampala, the High Court. But that court doesn't even know the demarcations or even the village where this land problem is. It is our neighbor. It is my neighbor who knows where my boundaries were. It is that person, a neighbor who has been tethering their cows and goats, who knows that this is so and so's land. You have shifted demarcation that way. Today, that case will come here and spend 10 years. So, we realize that yes, we appreciate some of these things, but there are some things that actually our traditional means had better ways of solving these issues. Even right now we have this issue of LGBTQ and other immorality. The only thing we first have to think about is let us make a law. But actually there are laws. In 2014, the late Father Lokodo, the former Minister for Ethics and Integrity, actually had presented, even the President assented to it, a policy, what they call a national ethical policy. It was even assented to. The President assented and said, let it work. It is not working. Now, some of the issues that today you are grappling with, immorality, LGBTQ, this law, this policy, covers actually almost all of it. If you could implement it, it covers everything. So the issue is not the law. The issue is your mentality. The mentality of Ugandans, the mentality of Africans. So we think that all we have to do is to bend to the laws. But what happened to humanity? I'm not supposed to kill you, Mr. Kashaya. The law doesn't have to tell me that don't kill Kashaya. No. Kashaya is a human being, I'm a human being. I am not supposed to kill him. I don't have the right. He has the right to live, I have the right to live. So even before we talk about the law, what are we doing about our human values? Our human values. But even those laws that have been already put in place, how far do we implement them? How far do we respect them? So, I will invite Mr. Commissioner Justice Rubarema to begin us there.
Remind ourselves, traditional African society believed in social harmony. Social harmony was the thing. I still remember, because I think I tasted that kind of administration society. And colonial society came in administrative order exploitation. That was believed in. I don't want to quote examples here, but probably you know them. Now, post-independence, that ushered in power struggle. And then modern society ushered in economic and human rights. Now, human rights, we could simply say rights, because human rights have got so much. Human rights, children rights, this rights, women rights, this rights approach. And from the UDHR era and some of the experts of that, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, was in 1948, brought in a number of things. Now the question is, how did the organized African society receive this and integrate it and contextualize it to keep what had sustained them to where they are moving. Okay, our constitution, and I am sure you've come across this, and I will quote, when the constitution is talking about the principles of the state policy, number 24, it provides that culture and customary values which are consistent with fundamental rights and freedoms, human dignity, democracy, and with constitution may be developed and incorporated in aspects of Ugandan life. This is how the Directorate now comes into existence. The Directorate for Ethics and Integrity has mandates which tasks it to effect this constitutional provision. So whatever we do is making it easy that what we agreed upon as a country is practiced, is lived. Policy objectives, the National Ethical Values Policy objectives are there. Number one is to promote a culture of integrity and positive attitude towards national and personal development. Interpret this with the preamble given. You know, integrity and value sometimes can vary from clan to clan, person to person, even religion. I mean, in a given religion, they may uphold something as a moral principle. Yet in another, they might look at it as it's immoral. For example, polygamy. In the African culture, polygamy was the thing. But in religion, there are some religions where strictly one man, one woman, one husband, one wife. But there's another religion where you can marry as many as 4. Is it 4 or 3? 4. Now you see, values there vary from group to group. But as was noted, there are those cross-cutting principles, value principles. When you examine it further, you actually discover that it is one and the same. So, objective number 2 was to provide the basis for ownership of national vision, aspirations, and sustainable development. I can assure you, as a people, we must love our country. We must. But in the way of loving our country, our love should not be in mere words only. We should see ourselves adding value. We should see ourselves exploring and producing, and not just extraction industry only, but we should see ourselves putting production of adding value and creation of utility. If we have to do that, we need to bear in mind the principles. These are now the values. So the objective of the national values, number 2, is that. Number 3 is to provide national framework within which other legislations to regulate human conduct shall operate. You see, human conduct needs to be regulated. Human beings, I don't know what you think, but someone has said, you may say it's wrong or right, but someone has said a human being is inherently evil. What is easy for human life is evil. I mean, Paul said, what I will to do, that I do not do, but what I do is what I wouldn't like to do. So there is no good in me. That is real human life. And therefore, you need the regulation. If you do not regulate human conduct, then you get a problem. And the National Ethical Values Policy was putting a premise. If we have regulate human conduct, how do we do it? It's important we disseminate it and let many people to have it. So the focus is we target to influence attitude change as the fundamental willpower of the people, and other efforts will follow from there. Okay. And it focuses on sustainable socio-economic development of better Uganda that the state strives to deliver to the people. That Uganda should have cherished norms that must be shared by all citizens. I can tell you, if you have had a look at the National Development Plan 3, and you know the goal, and you know the vision, and you know, I mean, if government is talking about dealing with household poverty, you hear about the Paris Development Model, efforts to help people, lift them from subsistence agriculture to commercial agriculture. They actually say, participate, like some people, some other people say, that if somebody comes and he washes your back where you cannot see, please wash your stomach because you can see your stomach. But what you hear is the cry, government to young, send us supporters. These policies are about to unleash to us. Will show you how people are encouraged to work hard. And it is also in the government documents like the NDP3, like the Vision 2040 and others. I know you read those documents. So, national identity, this we can give. I just want now to get to the policies because we need to get enough time. But this is very important. I want to take you to this demonstration and let's go together. Assuming the national ethical values policy is denoted or symbolized or represented by a house, like we see. It means, therefore, that the foundation must be the national value system, the national ethical values, the value system of the country. The 10 national ethical values I am about to share with us form a foundation that is sustainable, forms a foundation that will live for generations to come. We want to leave this country better than we found it. But then when you look at that, then you need public awareness. This is where sometimes we get it wrong. Then somebody will say, what happened? You look about national ethical values policy, people living in Kampala, they don't know it. So the public is not aware. Is it because they have not been told? Or it's because we are a culture sometimes that can hear things strategically. You will hear, sometimes when we go in our villages, you hear people telling you campaigns are about to begin, we are going to get some drinks. So they are not so much waiting for the campaigns to see the manifesto of their leaders, they are waiting for the campaigns to drink. That kind of selfish mentality. So even when a national ethical value is given to you for free, please don't ask me because I didn't carry some. But even if it was given for free, if your motivation is not that you need it, you will perhaps forget where you have kept it in the next one day. So public awareness has a problem. We don't have it. But then this would lead us to effective leadership, and we could talk, the whole day about this, the diagrammatic representation. That policies and legal framework of the country rises out of the national value system. And so that will give us effective leadership. And so the effective leaders we have, they either have read this ethical values policy, or as those of you have come across Immanuel Kant as he reasoned, maybe the policy there is actually realistic, that even people that have not seen it but are moral, they are living as though they have seen it. You know that is possible. You can find a Christian who behaves as though he's a non-Christian, and you find somebody who has never stepped in church behaving as though he's a serious Christian. In the same way, you can find some people who have not seen this booklet, but in their heart of hearts, they want to be effective leaders. But when we present the principles, you will get to know that this is what we need as a country, so that we can get sustainable economic development, and you know that. Sustainable economic development, sustainable human development, and okay. This is what I was talking about, that sustainable national economic and human development cannot be achieved if leaders are not effective and efficient. If there is any development, if there is anything we can celebrate as a country, somebody has been effective somewhere. And I urge you to really give a credit. It is also a value issue, it's also a moral issue. Let's not be like the other proverb where they say, "Go ye kere, yari kushambe." Have you heard about that?
Yes.
That the one whose foot you treat is the one that will kick you tomorrow. That's horrible. It's very immoral. Now, if leaders have been effective, it's important that we appreciate. But also, leaders cannot be effective and efficient if the system, structures, policies, laws, and procedures do not respond to the social needs of the people. So, leaders must, anyway, these things you have had them. I want us to get to the policies shortly. The 10 National Ethical Values Policy. I will not talk about the imagery, but Uganda is so beautiful. In case your love for Uganda had waned, you need to rekindle the love for this country. I have had an opportunity to move in 11 countries in this world, including Europe. I've not lived there longer, maybe 10 days, 15 days, Australia, US, but I haven't found a country as sweet as Uganda, I can tell you. Now, if we do not together embrace these national ethical values and run in accordance with them, we will destroy the good of our country. So number one is respect for humanity and the environment. Respect one another, their property, and the environment we live in. It also involved rejecting any act or action that may undermine this coexistence and the natural order. I will tell you, wetlands are being destroyed, and people who destroy them, what are they looking for? Respect for humanity and environment. We need to promote this. I can't be you, because that's the beauty of creation. We are different. Look at nature, so many great, excellent things. You can actually know that there is a God. God is a super designer. By looking at the environment, people destroy the environment, they pull the mountain, bring the stones into the valley so that they can kill the valley, make it a small mountain. But reality is so stubborn that even when you deny it, or when you undermine it, or when you oppose it, it will still catch up with you. So we need to uphold this national ethical value, number one. Number two, honesty. To harness a character of trustworthiness at all times in whatever we do. I am telling you, as a country, if we are to measure in terms of balance in, you put some weight the other side and some weight this side, and you see, I think if we weigh honesty in the country, the stone of honesty would pull us. We don't weigh much. What we see manifesting a lot is dishonesty. Sometimes even in places of worship, it does. But it means, therefore, we need to promote this. A team sat for many, many days and came up with this. We need to promote it. So that honesty is a guiding principle. Number three, justice and fairness. You have read NDP 3 and Program 18, Community Mobilization and Mindset Change, around page 185 to 189. You must have come across the dependency syndrome. You must have come across mindset change. That instead of hard work, People love big game. They love betting. You've heard about things like betting. No. Things are not, even miracles. Yes, God performs miracles, but I'm telling you, we are not going to live by miracles. Because we are not in heaven. God is going to strengthen our hands. We work with our hands. Because the same Bible, for example, says, out of your sweat you shall eat. And actually the scripture says also, he who does not work shouldn't eat. And when you look back in the African traditional society, work was encouraged. I'll tell you a scripture quickly and briefly. In John 5:17, Jesus spoke and said, my Father is at work. I am also at work. Who are you not to be at work? But people actually try to avoid work, and somehow they think computer has brought in some things like, you want to make a robotic cassava. You still have to work hard to create a robotic cassava in case there is one. You must work hard, you must read very hard, you must innovate. Hard work. It's a principle. Strive to sustain oneself and nation through hard work, innovation, productive use of time. I mean, I am a Christian and I love that. But I tell you, you don't need to pray for the whole week, day and night, so that food can come to the table. You need to work. Use of time. Number 5, integrity. When you look at that square, the word integrity, somebody has thought about it, and so many words have come out of integrity. Righteous, honorable, truthful, blameless, graceful, upright, disciplined, faithful, holy. In terms of discipline, people live and die on principles. There are things that humans have forced themselves into. Why? They lack integrity. We need to put these ethical values back to the family level.
Right, Honorable Speaker, sir, the commissioner we have here is a trauma healing master.
Is a what?
A trauma healing master.
A trauma healing master.
Yes.
Okay.
He's one of the people that I happen to read about. He's a celebrated gentleman in northern Swaziland. Because when northern Swaziland was at a crossroads, just to copy one of the nomenclature that Professor Lenyo used, he was the lead crusader of taking your pain to the cross in northern Swaziland. This country is at crossroads and in a very terrible state. We do not know whether men that are bold, men with this kind of efficiency, have given up on this generation, or they have been suffocated to helplessness as well.
They are helpless, they don't know what to do by it.
Yes, exactly. And the same gentleman also was one of the people that played a pivotal role in accelerating the Kakinzi diocese after an embezzlement probe, for those that followed. When I see people like that quiet in times where the rich are stealing from the poor, the same gentleman comes here to talk about planning and implementation. Now, for matters of strategy, my law friends often love to refer to as what you call counterfactual, discrepant, and fallacious. One, the planning, one will ask, even before we discuss the people that are stealing iron sheets that are made for the Karamanjons, was it prudent that a region that is suffering from hunger is given iron sheets at the expense of food? There is more to the eye than we are actually looking at.
Food was given. Food was given in
Let us be very factual. Yeah. The saga of food was there, and if you provoke us, we shall mention which people took food that was belonging to the Karajons, that we also know. Secondly, even the iron sheets that were purchased were rated at 79,000 shillings.
But
Or imagine, contrary to what is on the market price.
because of the
In
brand,
Bahrain,
because of the brand,
yes, in Bahrain, how much is brand? Because in Bahrain, where the Interparliamentary Union is being held, Bahrain has blocked all pornographic sites as we talk today.
they have blocked them.
All of them, you cannot access pornographic sites and pornographic content in Bahrain. Now, in a country like Uganda, with a directorate of ethics,
And integrity.
pornography is what is everywhere. Instead, the government chose to shut down Facebook. You know? In conclusion,
Because concluding must.
yes, because concluding I must. In my own opinion, ethics are principalities relating to the right or wrong conduct. A scholar clearly challenged religious philosophy and said if we were to brief the understanding, religion comes in two ways, in doing the right or the wrong, and so does ethics. Today, we must never mind our subscription to culture, even when we cannot negate the fact that when you read what is ethical, now what will emanate from that kind of thinking is unethical business like what we are seeing today. I want to encourage colleagues to the fact that before you clean your neighbor's compound, you must clean yours first.
Thank you so much.
And my last statement, we must teach children the right thing before we teach them their rights.
They are free.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to handle this topic in a Pan-African setup. Because the issue of ethics is not about policies.
I agree.
Not at all. Actually, even before I start, since I'm a lecturer by profession, I want to first ask you, what is your ethical record? You get time to assess yourself ethically. Now take back and see what you have been doing for the last so many years, you who are here. Before you even think about a leader, a religious leader, a parent, a friend, think about your soul. What have you been doing for all those years you have been here on earth? In Uganda, they said, Fumitiriza. In your heart, the inner man. If we are here to assess according to what you do on daily basis, do you have the moral authority to talk about this topic? Many will disqualify ourselves. This is a serious topic. This is gentlemen. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a Pan-African pyramid, debating and promoting African values. This is the time, Mr. Commissioner, that you have a partnership with a non-government organization that is promoting the values of Africans. That's why you come here every Friday. Mr. Speaker, sir, Africans had their own culture. It is through that culture, Mr. Speaker, sir, that ethics and ethical values are embedded. You cannot separate culture with ethics. The day Africans run away from their culture, all the ethics and morals run away from them.
And I think they are running away from them, and that's why we are facing the problem.
So I don't know whether the ethics are running away from them or them running away from the ethics, or both.
Actually, the challenges we are facing today, Mr. Kasher, is as a result of Africans trying to run away from their cultures and tradition.
Mr.
To adopt the Western culture.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, an African ethic value was so strong, especially when it comes to penalty. For instance, you get a thief, is beaten to death. And I remember recently the president even mentioned we had very strong penalty because a child was brought up in a village as a community child. And therefore the community will decide which punishment in case that child messes up. Today, because Mr. Speaker, we have not decolonized the minds of Africans, an African child is not touchable. The values, the ethics of an African child are no longer having values. And therefore, no punishment in the case there is any problem.
You take chance, you run to police.
A teacher in a school cannot get a stick to punish a pupil who has urinated in the class, because that child is the son of a minister.
No, actually nowadays it doesn't even matter.
And they call that
the rules now in the school all over is that don't beat children. Now even them, they know that I'm not supposed to be beaten. To touch them, they run to police, they report it.
Actually, based on that point, there are many NGOs, nothing going on. In this country,
Nothing, NGOs means non-government organization.
nothing going on. Yes, because these are the people who are giving funds, that they are giving funds in support of child rights. You can imagine a minor. That's why I used to like a leader in Singapore, that's general. When you are minor and poor, you don't have the capacity to decide for national issues. You are compromised somehow. So you imagine a child, a minor, that has a right to urinate in a class and is not with impunity. Lawyers are here. But that is a fundamental right. A child in the village who goes around the village abusing people cannot be. It's a fundamental right. NGOs are funding. The moment we don't come out strongly, especially this forum, and decolonize the toxins that have been brought by imperialists through NGOs,
non-governmental organizations,
and African traders who are promoting foreign ethical values,
foreign interests,
and leaving African values. I'm telling you, those things you're talking about will remain history. Secondly, Mr. Commissioner, we don't have a binding law. What you call thuggery or stealing, you call it corruption. You are just massaging, giving it another name. You have stolen.
I am six.
You have stolen land sheets. The Pan-African pyramid. Our core values are promote the values of African people.
If I don't make you correct the people.
No.
What you are saying has made
Because you see, in an African setup, we used to belong in quality, not in quantity. That's why we have the best foods around. But you remember last time when we used to fight these guys who were saying, the production rate now has gone, so we need to have some chemicals so that you can have more production. You eat banana that has no taste. The other time, the deputy speaker of parliament was addressing a certain congregation in the Caribbean area. You guys don't import things that are causing us cancer. But when you mention it before the parliament, they will say Kashai is mad. This is globalization, modernization. You are living in a global village. Shame on you! Africans are Africans. We have our own values. We have our own ethics. Why should we rely on foreign things which are not benefiting us? Shame on you, Africans. This is the time to say no and redefine what we should move and what we should do and what we should not do.
Read your mind now.
Mr. Speaker, sir, not that being an African will realize that I'm an African and go back how we used to behave and how we used to handle our own people. You are a thief, you are killed. You misbehave, they put you down, they cane you. We have a better Africa.
Read your mind now.
Now, there's a problem here. I was actually discussing it with Commissioner there. There is a very big problem, and I think we need help government. Now, the political leadership, what you call the political class, now for instance, the ruling national resistance movement is implementing its programs based on manifesto, isn't it? Now, the implementer of the manifesto are not the politicians, the technocrats. Unfortunately, the technocrats are so much detached from this political class. You are implementing a political program when you are not a politician.
And you are detached from the politician.
Yes. So, this technocrat is not having a political orientation or an ideology of that political organization, what it wants to achieve.
In that program.
So it doesn't make any sense for technocrat steal all that money because he lacks political orientation and an ideology. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, there is a serious need, in my conclusion, to form what I call an African Institute for Ethics and Integrity.
Thank you so much.
Good evening.
The government cannot make such a good policy and not fund it.
Since 2014.
Yes, and even before the government bothers to pass the Anti-Homosexuality Act, they must pass an appropriate budget. Because the ministry going to implement the Anti-Homosexuality Act is that same ministry of Ethics and Integrity. And where's the money? And they're now rushing to pass the bill, and we should prepare for the money. This is not the first thing that the government has failed to do. The 1995 Constitution did not find any use of the office of the Prime Minister. It's not there.
Yeah.
The 1995 Constitution provided that there will be a disaster preparedness commission in Uganda, which would handle relief as an independent entity, not subject to the government.
True.
If the president, if Museveni had followed his 1995 Constitution, the Irish scandals and the missing of the Prime Minister's money, which we had previously, would not have taken place. Because the Irish would have been under a disaster preparedness commission, not a ministry where fellow ministers share. Have you seen? So it is very, very important that the ethical values policy must be given money. We must use the family. We must use the family, Mr. Speaker, as a first government, then the LC1 system, and then religious institutions. Now, Mr. Commissioner, now that you have come here, it's an opportunity for us to tell you that again, President Museveni is good at the words and not the words, and not the actions. Maybe MK, those people are there. But President Museveni is not good at his keeping his words. Why do I say that? You see, in 2017, the president made a statement. He said, the national resistance movement is built on 5 pillars. One of them being Pan-Africanism. I tell you, there is no directorate in any ministry in charge of Pan-Africanism. In any ministry, there is no department in charge of Pan-Africanism. That's why I say we take the words and requests of our Right Honorable Speaker very seriously. If the President is really serious that one of the 5 pillars of the NRM is Pan-Africanism, this now is the challenge.
You should have a directorate.
It should become a directorate in one of the ministries. That ministry of yours, Office of the President, Ethics and Integrity. Why? Because today Kashaya has really spoken. Since I started appearing here with Kashaya, he has never made points to me like this. Today Kashaya.
Free your mind now. Free your mind now. Be part of people's African parliament.
Today Kashaya has made a brilliant point. We cannot separate African culture from ethics and values. What are you talking about if you are not talking about culture? We are talking about African culture. And that's where we come across the issue African values. Not even religious.
It's the African culture that shape our ethics and integrity.
That has our values.
Yes, and values.
Mr. Commissioner, without our African cultures, there is no African values. You remember the same song? So, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ grew in an African culture.
Yes.
Egypt. You understand that? Actually, Jesus Christ for the 13 years. Because in Hebrew culture, you become a man at 13. Jesus Christ in all his formations is an African. Because he only goes back to Jerusalem when Aaron is what? Dead. Now, what you are calling Christianity is itself an African religion. Where the Ten Commandments issued, Is it not in Sinai? Is it not, was it not issued to Africans who were going to occupy Canaan?
Yes.
This is the confusion people have.
Professor, you have a lot of knowledge.
Yes, that is why.
I'm a knowledgeable man, and even your director said I'm a genius. I claim.
So, you find Right Honorable Speaker, sir. Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
There is confusion. And that's why, if you replay that again, you will hear him saying, we should go back to Yeshua HaMashiach. That is the Hebrew name of Jesus. Jesus is an African boy who grew up here in Africa. And when they were now making what they call in Egypt, when they were now making what they call the Ten Commandments, Moses was standing on the feet in Africa, Mount Sinai. So don't ever imagine.
What they call Mount Sinai.
And I want you to study the book, the Bible, the first 10 commandments. If you're an African, you will see that these things are African values.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that they talk about cutting of what? Goats, in the first, which is very African, where if you make you slept with your sister,
Sin offering,
wave
offering.
have you noticed the African?
They are.
Exactly, I know you're with me. So, and that is even why when we are talking about fighting the vice of homosexuality, we are within our rights. An African can never accept homosexuality. It's within our blood.
From the beginning, the Westerners came to Africa to impart themselves for profit-making objectives. Nothing else. They just want profit from Africa. Annually, 20 billion is paid out of interest rates. The African countries are paying to IMF and World Bank. Why did I start like that? So how did they have to do that? They had to come and start with, when they say in my language, when you want to eat an old person's, if you want to steal something or get something from an old person, you have to first persuade.
Yes.
So what is their method of persuasion?
You sweet talk them.
Yes, insert their values, teach us their language, change our culture like Mr. Kasha mentioned. We be more like them so that we can be more controllable by them. They achieved that, unfortunately. Then they divided Africa. That was the day we lost our identity.
They petitioned them.
They partitioned. Because when we are one, we are thinking like one person. Then we shall develop at their rate. Where we start to fail is the statement the Muzungu gives us that blame so and so, blame somebody. We have abandoned the African culture of collective responsibility. Museveni coming up and bringing an idea of agriculture and PPM does not mean he's going to sweat and implement it. It is a collective responsibility. Everyone has a responsibility to ensure those policies work. The moment you leave it up to him and blame him, the white man is saying that's very good. He's actually tired. I think he's tired of working to implement these policies alone. So when we are looking at Pan-Africanism, we should go back to what values were originally in Africa. That was unity, communal responsibility. In Rwanda, every weekend, every month, there is a communal meeting in the village. We should also remember our values of integrity.
They call it Umuganda.
Yes. Where have you seen these days, even just calling people in the village for a meeting, that somebody's child is sick or something, people look at you like, are you crazy? I have things to do. But those are the things that were helping Africans
To live together.
And avoid things like homosexuality and poverty. Poverty is the one feeding homosexuality. So if you don't go and search for those projects, for that money, the PDM money and what, and try to raise your incomes, then free money will look for you. And you know what will be on fire.
Thank you. Finally,
Finally, quote something on my phone. I just want to summarize what I was trying to say. In the year 1835,
1835.
yes, a British member of parliament had this to say: I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. That's why I'm telling you, corruption is there all the way from down. I have not seen anyone here with low moral values, people of such high caliber. Unless we break the very backbone of Africa, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage, I propose we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if Africans think that all foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem. They will lose their native culture. They will become what we want. They will lose their identity. We shall now want to do everything the white man is doing. A woman sleeping with a woman, man with a man. And then, as I conclude, I want us to completely leave the issue of blaming the president, blaming the leaders. There's what they call structural adjustment policies. Structural adjustment policies are policies by IMF and World Bank. They come to Uganda and say, for us to give you $400 billion, you're going to increase your tax base. We don't care whom you tax. We don't care even if you tax the matchbox. You're going to increase your tax. You're going to devalue your currency. Of course, the president will not come and tell you that IMF has told us that we devalue the currency, and the social media tax were almost killing him. But all those are policies of the Western.
And the African president, who knows these issues, accepts.
Why do they accept? It is upon you to either take this money they are giving you, or they will come and look for best and give you money and get a position and overthrow you. So you are given two choices: to be overthrown politically or accept their policy.
My name is Nyakusoka Community. Yes, problem. So coming to the real issue, the policy itself is that we don't have right interpreters of the policy itself and the laws. And then, secondly, is that the enforcement of whatever that would want to have to address those critical matters. For example, homosexuality is going to come, the Homosexuality Act is going to come, but the actual enforcement may be at stake. She was talking of the MDAs and the local government institutions and all that, but do you think those people are going to do a credible job to ensure that we don't have those voices in our society? So it comes back to what Professor Lenny was talking about, the family, the unity, that is the natural unity of a society.
First of all, we have to know what are these human values. The human values, we have love, truth, right action, and non-violence. If these are put into place, first of all, we have to know what we gain. First of all, we grow, we develop, and we create the future we want to experience. But we can't do this without parents knowing their parental roles, without training the children the ethical values in schools. These days, teachers no longer want to know. The only thing they focus about is teaching what is in the textbooks. And I wonder if in these textbooks, we have these human values and ethical policies. Teachers no longer want to know about the African norms and values. The only thing they mind about is teaching about the Western what?
The Western culture.
Yeah. But if parents, teachers, the government they sensitize their parents about their roles. And these days, we have very many single mothers. Why? Parents, fathers most especially, they no longer want to know their roles.
They have neglected their role
in the family. That's why a mother cannot raise a child alone in the way a father can. Because we normally know our mothers as weak. We tend to fear our fathers. So, what can stop a boy from practicing homosexuality? Can a mother really tell you, my son, stop this? But at least you can know, a father is a father in a house.
Thank you.
So,
I want to stick to the topic today using the national ethical policy as a tool to restore human values in Uganda. Because I've been observing, but people are putting in some other affiliations. Can we discuss this topic? And I'm saying,
You have answered one of the questions.
when we talk about using the national ethical policy, from the brief introduction that was given to us, because we have not read the book. I got a chance that I read this book before I came here, though this is my first time. But when I was told in my research, I landed on it. Okay, my point, I could mention much, but because of time, this is my recommendation to all of us as young Pan-Africans. Don't you think that as we have come here, as we stand to speak to people, or as you meditate, when you're somewhere seated and you think about Pan-Africanism, as we are talking about it today, don't you think that it is a sole responsibility for each and every person that is here, or each and every African out there? So we cannot come and talk about LGBTQ, something like that. We talk about foreign aid. When we have not taken the initiative to do what is required. You understand?
What are you doing at the personal level? That's what you're saying.
At my personal level. At my personal level.
No, I'm not asking you.
Yes.
I am actually expanding your argument that
Yes.
this was
It's a challenge to all of
before
us.
you blame the government, before you blame the commissioner.
Yes.
What are you doing at the personal level
Yes.
as a human being? Because even if you have values,
Yes.
you have norms, you have
Yes.
culture.
Just as Professor mentioned, that it is the government should not even talk about that, but it should be our sole responsibility. As you an individual, when we talk about LGBT, it's LGBT coming from the Western countries. Do you see sense in it, or just go because of bandwagon effect? So my recommendation is one, she talked about Myoga. Those things, people will eat them and people will take the iron sheets, people will do everything. If at all we don't embrace the spirit of our founding fathers of Pan-Africanism, the WD, Bugatti, Kwame Nkrumah, mentioned them. If they were here today, when you talk about Pan-Africanism, they wouldn't be discussing issues concerning with
Iron sheets.
iron sheets. You understand? This is just going out from what we are supposed to discuss, following the topic. This is what I have to say. I recommend, or I put a suggestion, or I beg the government that some of the people out there have not gotten the chance to know what Pan-Africanism is. You understand? Because it is not anywhere. It is not in the syllabus. It is not taught anywhere. People have studied the law. People have, okay, I know it can be there in the law, they find it somewhere. But you find doctors, you find one, someone has not been paid and he will not attend to a sick person because he thinks money is the priority. You understand?
He lacks Pan-Africanism.
He lacks that spirit.
Humanity.
You understand? She talked about partitioning Africa. Was it really necessary? Because a Kenya and the Uganda, there would be no difference. But we would be working together. If we have the oil and we have fresh waters, you have the fish. Bring what you have, we give you what we have, so that we can all grow. But when we keep on struggling to get sovereignty from what we have, then that means
The port of Kenya now is the port of Kenya. If a
Yes.
Ghana wants to use it for,
You have to pay.
you must pay. But that would be the port of Africa.
yes.
You know, I have got my carpenters, they want to ship to India. I go to the port.
Yes, the last time they had stopped some of our products to cross. Like eggs, milk, they're saying this and this maize. You understand? Those are things that that should not be bothering us.
So thank you so much. Let's meet here next Friday, same time, same place.